Hi, I'm Patrice Rushen, and you are tuned in to Rolling Out.
Hey, Rolling Out family, welcome to Rolling Out Music. I'm your host, Eddie Precise Lamar. Today we're joined by a true legend, Patrice Rushen. She's a legendary composer, producer, and performer whose music has inspired generations. Patrice, thank you so much for being here. How are you today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm excited to be talking to you. This means a lot to me, so thank you for taking this time with us.
Oh, my pleasure.
You know, just to jump right into it, what moment stands out most in your career journey?
Ooh, that's a tough question because I've had so many amazing and interesting experiences. I would say, though, if I had to boil it down, I would say being involved in shows like the Grammys or the NAACP Image Awards, especially, because I had a chance to collaborate and work with so many artists and work to provide music direction for performers like, so many people, Sarah Vaughan and, the Nicholas Brothers and Sammy Davis Jr. We used to do tributes to them. And these are people, of course, I stand on their shoulders as great artists, as great entertainers as they were and as they influenced so many of us. So to be involved in a program where we were paying homage to them was really exciting for me, and to be able to do that for 12 years straight. I was MD for 12 years.
That's amazing. You mentioned those individuals inspiring you, and you've inspired so many people. How does it feel knowing your music still inspires so many artists today?
And I'm still trying to wrap my head around that idea, because it's just probably within the last few years since I've been teaching that I'm aware of first of all the music that I heard and all of the music that inspired me, because I have to talk about it a lot when I'm offering, certain kind of teaching and curriculum. But to know that for some, my music represents that part it's really hard for me to wrap my head around that. We were having fun, we were doing what we love to do.
Yes.
Our passion was to be able to play music, to be able to collaborate and play with each other, and to try to do it at the highest level. We wanted to be so bad we could play with anybody.
I know that's right. Speaking of just being able to play any music, right? We're here for this conversation around Chicago house music. What are your thoughts on Chicago house music and its roots in soul and funk and disco?
Well, first of all, I'm from the West Coast. I'm from Los Angeles. So Chicago house music in general, I believe, started here, had the most impact here initially. And we heard about it. We heard about the warehouse, where the music was where the DJs were coming in, just being creative and doing all kinds of things, not necessarily for any other idea than to just have the people on the floor loving the music. And they were experimenting and had a lot of different kinds of music that influenced the music that ultimately became house.
Yes.
That's the way we heard about it. And that's the kind of way I think that I felt that why house was of value, because it involved and took into consideration all the other kinds of music, funk, R&B, some jazz, obviously with the technology and EDM and things like that allowed for there to be even more influences from other things. I think it was all good. But it represented just this amalgamation of possibilities. And just like a lot of other things, it fell into a situation where people had to put it in a box. And in putting it in that box, sometimes the other side of that's not as good is that then it actually limits things, as opposed to really celebrating that its box was to be progressive.
Yes. You mentioned being surprised at the amount of music that you've influenced, earlier on when we were talking. Which one of your songs, though, and this is not to talk about the box of house, but just house music in general, which one of your songs do you think fits most into this house type of vibe? I have an answer already.
You have it?
Yeah.
There's probably some of the ballads, slower jams, that probably lend themselves to some pretty creative things. I don't know what exactly they would be, but just in terms of the kinds of concepts that I've heard with the DJs that are really being creative, they'll take something from way over there and bring it in over here. So I would venture to say, yes, of course, the dance music that I've done, but also I would imagine some of the ballads.
You want to know my answer?
Yeah.
My answer is number one.
Number one.
So
All right.
I've been lit right now as we're speaking. That track is playing in my head. I'm not joking.
That's one of my favorites, and you know what we called it number one?
No, I do know why you called it number one.
What?
Because I just saw an interview with you recently. Because it was the first track you guys did that day, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You didn't think I knew. How do you feel, in your opinion? What do you think makes house music timeless?
The elements of music that comes out of people's conditions usually is a reflection of wanting to break out of a norm. Bebop was like that for jazz, the guys would go in and they would be playing dance music, in these bands, and they wanted to have a situation where they could do music just for them. So they broke out of that. When there weren't a lot of instruments around for people to experiment with, much later in I believe in public schools. People still needed a way to be able to relate, and rhythm is always a big part of the music, especially of the African American community. And then came rap and hip hop, followed that. And I think that was a reaction to wanting to make some music, but not necessarily having a lot of instruments and all kinds of other ways to do it from the standpoint of those instruments. So we used our instruments,
Yes.
we used rhythm, we used our storytelling. We used our dance moves. Those were the kinds of things. And I would say that house falls into a similar category from the standpoint of it being sort of a renegade music. A little bit away from the norm, and yet a familiarity where other creative energy is brought into it. And I think that, as time went on, I think we may have lost the idea of it being that kind of creative platform. And it just got locked into being a certain genre that only reflected, people who wanted to, DJ and put beats together. But there was much more to it than that.
Indeed. You exist in some rare air in terms of what you've been able to accomplish, being a music director for the Grammys for, like you said, 14 years. What do you think, as a woman, what do you think that you bring to a situation that is unique? And why do you think you've been able to be so successful and have such a long-lasting career?
Well, I like to think it's because I've worked really hard to become really, really good. I wanted to be one of those people that I liked all kinds of music, and I wanted to be a person that understood all kinds of music to be able to make music with other people and play. But I think that one of the things that I've learned is that, you can have the talent, you can have the skill, you can do the work, but that's not enough. And what I'm finding out, especially the older I get, is that your personage, your citizenry, the concept of how you feel about culture, the concept of what you know about your own, and how it has impacted and influenced other parts of the world, the ability to just communicate.
Yes.
Those are things that also feed the music, and I think have allowed for me to be able to be in different corners of it all and to work with different people. And then I've also had the good fortune that everybody I've ever worked with or worked for, I learned something from them, sometimes what not to do.
Yes.
But a lesson nonetheless. And to be able to take that in and apply it to myself so that I could be at my best and do the best I could in whatever situation I was in. I think people began to take that very seriously. And then the other part of your question is from the female perspective. I'm afraid that the bar was pretty low. I don't think that for a very long time there was the sensibility that women were as serious about it and wanted to be able to make that kind of impact. And times were different, and there were other social areas that created limits and biases. But I also worked with some pretty powerful women, and I stand on their shoulders still.
Yes. So I got two more questions. So technology, how has that changed the way you've approached making music?
I, enjoy using technology. I don't have any qualms about it, but I will say this, that I learned my craft and learned to play first.
Yes.
So technology became a tool to be able to maybe get to it a little faster or more precisely or something like that. It wasn't teaching me how to play.
Yes.
Or teaching me necessarily how to write. The beauty of it for me is that it allows for me to now just imagine what I want to imagine and be able to hear some of it back or try it a certain way or do it a different way. Or I want you to put something on, I could send you a file and you do it and send it back to me. I don't have to come all the way to Chicago or you all the way to LA. We can get things done fast. But, like with everything in technology, it's a double-edged sword. It's not supposed to take the place of the time and the work and the energy of creating.
Yes.
It's supposed to make certain things more convenient and easier for you to get to it.
Yes.
And so for me, it's been great. But I do see some of the downsides, especially being an educator. I see some of the downsides for students where it's very confusing as to why they have to do a certain type of work when they could just press the button over here and the machine does it for them, without realizing that, art isn't that way. Art isn't made that way.
Yes.
And you don't get away from the work.
Yes, yes. So lastly, if you had the opportunity to create a supergroup across time, right? No restrictions. Who would be in that group with you?
Oh, no restrictions. Miles Davis, Sly Stone, Ella Fitzgerald, Stevie Wonder, Prince, Michael Jackson, Larry Graham, Mongo Santa Maria, Freddie Hubbard, trumpet. Wow. Abby Lincoln.
Patrice, thank you so much for joining us here today on Rolling Out Music. This was such a treat, and I appreciate you so much. Continue being who you are and the legend that you are. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
Rolling Out family, thank you for joining us today. This is your man, Eddie Precise Lamar. And as I always say, stay focused, positive, and productive. Peace.